It's me, Vicky Marie. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in this crazy world we're living in. Anyway, this is who we're going to talk about today. This little cherub, Gus. His name's Gus. I think he's 4 years old. He's just a little toddler, really. Not much more than a toddler. And he's gone missing in Australia. He's been missing for quite a while now. And I've seen this case, obviously, pops up, things that pop up on my screen, which are all like true crime things. It pop up on my YouTube, on my feed, my social media feed, etc. And I've seen Gus's case pop up, and I've been, I don't like covering children's cases really, but, just sometimes, what else can you do when a high profile case comes up like this? You look at this little boy's face. He's gone missing from a rural property. Again, this seems to be quite common, doesn't it, at the moment? So many children. The thing is, if you've got a rural property, do you think you relax more? Do you think... obviously, if you're living in the centre of London, you're not going to let your 4-year-old go outside and play, are you? It's just not going to happen. But if you've got a rural property, do you think you relax more and you don't worry so much about sort of your children? They're out there, they're fine, there's nobody around. But of course, there are lots of pitfalls on rural properties, not only, stranger danger. Oh, it's Riley coming to photobomb me. Not only stranger danger, but they could trip, they could fall, an animal could come and attack them. I don't know, they could fall down a well. There's a lot of things that could happen, I suppose. And I suppose you think that they'll only be playing locally, but if they wander off, which it's thought that Gus has wandered off, and I just want to make it clear, although all the conspiracy theories have started already, I had, as soon as I put in Gus Lamont into the search engine, a few of the usual suspects YouTube channels came up, there's something a bit strange about this. It must be the family, it must be the parents. Well, do you know what? Riley, what's up with you? We don't know. The police are specific at the moment that they don't suspect any foul play, that they think this is a case of a little boy just wandering off on a very rural property. So, honestly, I think they should be banned, these YouTube people that do things. Honestly, I do, because they make it more difficult for other YouTube channels straight away. Don't get me wrong, if there was some evidence, if there was any suspicion whatsoever, but, when the authorities come out and say, as far as they're concerned, they have no evidence to support that there's anything more than a boy wandering off. But children do wander off, don't they? So this reminded me a bit of the Ben Needham case from years ago. A lot of people will remember that. Don't think anyone thinks his parents or grandparents had anything to do with it. Something happened to Ben Needham. Children do sort of wander off or get into accidents. And I think the more, as I say, if you were in a built-up area in a city or whatever, you're not going to let your 4-year-old play outside, are you? Because obviously you're not. But if you're on a rural property, and sometimes you've only got to take your eye off them for a minute, and toddlers, they just wander off. Anyway, I don't know what's happened to Gus, so I have no clue. But I won't be casting any shade on the parents or the family, unless if it comes to a time when the police say they think it was to do with the family. That's different. I'm talking now about a boy who's gone missing. Apparently, the family are absolutely distraught. And really, why I'm doing this video in the end is I thought, God, thing is, there are so many missing children's cases. Of course, there's Jack and Lily Sullivan as well that we're waiting for. I mean, of course, Sebastian Rogers, though, he's not a child anymore. He actually wasn't a child when he went missing. He was 15. which is a child, but you know what I mean, he wasn't a little child like Gus is. I mean, the thing is, when little children go missing, people go missing every day, don't they? Adults, though, when they go missing, there's always a chance that they might have gone missing on purpose, or they might have taken themselves away to do something to themselves, etc. Or they might have had an accident, but they can sort of, you know, try. Thing is, when a little one goes missing, like Gus, he can't look after himself. You know, he hasn't gone missing by choice. You know, he hasn't thought, oh, I'm going to go and start a new life somewhere. He hasn't gone to unalive himself. He hasn't done any of those things that sometimes adults do. And adults, you know, that's a common thing. When a child goes missing, either someone's taken them or they've had an accident. And the longer it goes on, the harder it is to think that maybe, you know, to have hope. Isn't it? Because they can't look after themselves. They can't feed themselves. They can't, you know, they haven't got a phone. They haven't got mobile that where you can check their location. You know, so it's very, very sad. And a very sad thing is just, you know, the police have scaled down the search. So the police have been searching this rural property where you can see where they've been searching there. They have scaled it down now, and they have said that they think, sadly, that whatever has happened to Gus, it's unlikely that he's still alive. So that's very sad, isn't it? Anyway, that's what we're going to talk about in this video. First of all, I've got a few things that I want to do. I want to say my thank yous, of course. I've not been on YouTube over the weekend. I've been sorting out my Spanish book. Those of you who watch my channel regularly, you'll know that I'm actually also a Spanish teacher. And I had a bit of a nightmare with my books that are for sale on Amazon because I wanted to change them a little bit, and then the computer that I had them stored on, it doesn't work now, so I had to I didn't have to write them completely again, but anyway, that's what I've been doing. So I've been uploading the level 1 book again, which I've done 1 book. I've got 4 more to do. So I've been doing that over the weekend and just watching things to take my mind off true crime and stuff like that. I'll say that I've been watching sort of Miss Marple videos, you know, just watching Strictly Come Dancing and just trying to watch things that aren't to do with the true crime, because it can be quite depressing following true crime, of course, but it's still important. Like, this is important for Gus, and we don't know Gus. So I know a lot of my followers are in Australia, so, you know, there may be somebody watching out there who does know something about Gus, but it doesn't matter, because we can't help in the sense we can't go and search, etc. But to me, we can pray, if that, you know, and if that's not much, but it's better than nothing, isn't it? We're going to say a prayer at the end, not only for Gus, but for all the missing children that we've been covering, and any missing child. It's sad when anyone goes missing, but especially when it's a child, isn't it? Because they just can't look after themselves, can they? So thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for liking, sharing my videos. Thank you, special thank you to my members. I couldn't do this without you. Thank you so much. Special thank you to those of you who send me, buy me coffees, or send me coffees, or send PayPals, send emails, etc. If you contribute to my channel in any positive way, thank you so much. And most of all, as far as this video is concerned, thank you for caring about this little boy. What else do I want to say? Oh, so I'll take my banner off now, and then I'll say, oh, hang on, I'm doing the wrong thing here, as usual. Pressing the wrong button already. Oh gosh, I wanted to take that banner off. I'm going to give away some memberships in a moment. It's that time of the month where I can give away memberships on my Spanish and English channel, which means you can, you know, look at all the members videos that I do. I upload to both channels. I have the Spanish and English channel, and I have the Vicky Marie Chats Crime channel. And if you remember, you can watch, you know, any of those videos. And also join in the lives on a Thursday. So I'm going to give away 10 memberships very shortly. On my, I can't give them away on my Vicky Marie Chats channel because it's my secondary channel. The first YouTube channel that started up was Vicky Marie Chats, Vicky Marie Spanish and English. So I can only give away memberships on there. Anyway, as I've said a million times and I've never got around to it, I'd like to amalgamate the two channels eventually, but at the moment it's two separate channels. So hello to you, those of you watching on the Spanish and English channel. Sorry I haven't done any actual Spanish videos for ages or English videos, but just there's never enough hours in the day. What else do I want to say? Oh, hi lovely lurkers. Thank you for watching. I know not everybody wants to join in the chat. Thank you, replay crew. Thank you for watching. Thank you for caring about this little angel. And yeah, then I'm going to come into the chat now and see who is brave enough to actually come into the chat. Raise the head above the parapet. Hi, David. Hi, Lily. Yeah, I think a lot of people in, you know, it is a big case, obviously in Australia, but it's gaining traction because there's no answers, isn't it? You know, it's sort of I've sort of seen it going on for a while in the background, as I say, and I kept thinking, oh, they'll find him. It's this big rural properties, but he'll turn up somewhere. You know, he's a tiny little boy that's disappeared in a massive area. But, you know, every day that goes past makes it less likely that they're going to find him alive, doesn't it? Because, as I say, he cannot look after himself. So the police have scaled back the search now. And they're talking about it being a recovery mission rather than a search. Anyway, we're going to look at that. So all that's left is to pray, really, and I pray for his family as well. We're going to say a prayer at the end of this. Hi, Lily. Hi, Bluebell. Yeah, Bluebell, you're in Australia, aren't you? And you haven't heard of it either. Hi, Darren. Hi, Annie. That's right, a footprint. We're going to look at that. Hi, Annie. Yeah. Yeah. Hi, Celia. Yeah, there will be animals. I don't know if there's dingoes there. You know, of course, you know, this is a tiny little boy, so there's always a possibility that it could be an animal. They normally leave something, don't they, animals? They might, unless they take them away completely. I mean, it's not beyond the realms of possibility. I don't know if there are birds of prey there, big birds of prey, but, you know, even in Manchester, one of my mum's friends, a bloody great big, I don't know, kestrel or whatever, tried to take her cat once. You know, birds of prey do swoop down and take things, and they take them up, you know, to their nests or whatever. And would you ever find any trace then? You know, it's quite scary, isn't it, to think of? Really is scary. And then, yeah, as you say, Celia, he could have himself have crawled into a burrow or fell down a mine or a well. That's what they're talking about. Yeah. So, okay. Now, before we go on, I'm going to give you the details, obviously. Sorry, I've got echoes. Let me just turn the sound down on mine. Because what I'm going to do now is give away the memberships. So 5 memberships coming out now. sound down. Something's happened to him, hasn't it? You know, at the end of the day, I'll say. Okay, so the first 5 that have received a membership on my Spanish and English channel are Shawma Poms in Oz. Sounds like an Australian follower then. Holly's World Mundo Empath, Spice, and K311Y. And now I'm going to give away the next memberships, if I can work out how to do it again. Oh, I've lost how to do it now. Hang on. There it is. So the next 5 free memberships, which although they're on my Spanish and English channel, you can, Moonbeam, Julie, you must be a regular viewer. Andrasta Wolf, she's received memberships before as well. So Moonbeam, Julie, Shadow Fiend, and Claire Lindstead. Thank you for watching. And there you go. You've got a free membership for a month on the Spanish and English channel. I'm going to put some more. I haven't put any Spanish videos up for ages. I need to get onto that. But I've been doing this book, and anyway, I'm not waffling on about what I've been doing. There's always a million things to do. Right, just let me make sure. Yeah, drum roll. That's a good idea, Bluebell. That's what I need. A button for that, don't I, for a drum roll for when I do the memberships and things. Okay, so let's have another look at this little one. I mean, the thing is, you know, I mean, not that it's because he's adorable that we should all be bothered about him. We should be bothered about any child that is missing, but of course he is adorable with his little curls and things. So where is he? Is it possible at all that this boy could still be alive? It just doesn't, you know, because he's been missing for quite a long time. Let's have a look at the police interview, the police press conference, I think, first. I need to take that off, don't I, to put that. Now, I'm going to fast forward it a bit because they're talking about another missing person, first of all. An adult, though. And, you know, no disrespect to him or his family, but, you know, it seems like he may have taken that person may have taken himself away. It's different with an adult. An adult goes missing. I mean, you know, it's possible that something untoward might have happened to them. But you know what? You cannot tell an adult what, you know, if an adult decides to take themselves off to start a new life or even unalive themselves, as cruel as it feels to the family, you know, that is their life to live. You know, at the end of the day, that is our basic choice as an adult. As horrible as it is to the family that are left behind, and as cruel as I think it is to do that to your family and not let them know what's going on or whatever and leave them worrying about you, maybe even for the rest of their lives worrying about you, because, you know, sometimes families never get closure, do they? But it's different with a child because a child, as I say, Gus has not taken himself off anywhere. So we're going to fast forward to the bit where he's
searches for a missing person conducted in South Australia in recent times. Like every member of the community who's following this very, very sad event, ongoing and unwavering since that time, to that time, were any property with any distance pre. The last time Gus was seen by families, it will be handled by the Missing Persons Investigation Section. If I now move on to the search for Gus. So as we well know, Gus is a little 4-year-old, blonde, curly hair, smiling face young fella who has been missing from a farm property about 43 kilometres south of the township of Yunta since last Saturday, the 27th of September.
Now, Yunta, let's have a look on Google Maps. I mean, you know, this is a place I've never heard of before. You know, we've covered quite a few Australian cases, but they've mainly been sort of Victoria or places. So Yunta is a town and locality in the Australian state of South Australia, located in the state's east, about 275 kilometres northeast of the state capital of Adelaide. So let's just have a look at this. So yeah, well, I don't know if we've been to this area before. So Adelaide, oh gosh, I'm so rubbish at geography in general, but certainly rubbish, you know, Australian geography. But that's where Yunta is. I think it's a very isolated area, isn't it? Town and local, it is. It lies southwest of Broken Hill and northeast of Peterborough. Let's have a look on Google Maps. That might be better. So I haven't got, you know, that hasn't helped me at all orient where this is. All right, okay, gosh, so that's where it is. Have we been there with any cases before? We've been mainly sort of Victoria, haven't we? Or even Melbourne, but don't think we've been. Gosh, yeah, it's right. Oh, there's Victoria. So it's north from Victoria. Yeah. I'd like to visit Australia one day. I don't think I'll ever get there, but I mean, it's a massive place to visit anyway, isn't it? So we can see there where it is. So Melbourne is the places in Victoria that we've mainly been to with cases so far on my channel. I think we've been up to Brisbane for one as well. I don't think we've ever been around this area, but you can see just from that map how rural, you know, the area is. There's not a lot there, is there? So this property apparently was in Yunta. We've got one road going through it by the looks of it. Yeah, one road going through it, and then this rural property where this little boy has disappeared from. Okay, let's go back to the police press conference.
The last time Gus was seen by family was approximately 5 p.m. That night, and when a family member came out later in the evening, about half an hour later, to call him back inside, they couldn't find him. He's been described as an adventurous child, shy, but he is also a pretty good walker. But he's never left the family property with any distance previously that we're aware of. As everyone would know, considerable police resources and searches have been undertaken for the last 7 days, throwing absolutely everything we can in an effort to try and locate Gus safely and safe and well and alive. From early Sunday morning, all the resources that were involved in the search to that time were rapidly increased. Clearly, everyone understands the urgency of a situation with a missing person, but particularly a 4-year-old child. This commitment has been ongoing and unwavering since that time. And the search for Gus has probably been one of the largest, most intensive searches for a missing person conducted in South Australia in recent times. Like every member of the community who's following this very, very sad event, our people who've been on the ground, our volunteers, our police officers, Defence Force personnel and others, equally have been affected in some way or another by the fact that there's a missing 4-year-old child. You have to remember that people involved in this search are parents, family members, often.
Yeah, and I always say, it must be very traumatic searching in general for missing people, and especially when it goes on this long. You really do feel that you're looking for a body rather than an actual live person. But especially when you're searching for a child, as this guy says, the people that are searching, they're probably parents themselves. They'll start off full of hope, that they're going to find this little boy, they're going to find him, they're going to take him home to their family. And then every day that goes by, it just feels more and more depressing, doesn't it? I would imagine. And, thinking of, when Travis Decker's children, when they finally found them, you look at the circuit. I'm not saying obviously this has happened with Gus. I'm just referring to a case of searching for children. And they found them in the most horrible circumstances that you can imagine. I expect there's quite a few of the people that were on that search team are still off sick from work, or still having nightmares, still having psychological counselling, because it's worse when it's a child. Of course it's worse when it's a child, because they're so vulnerable. As I say, adults, sometimes they take themselves off and they do things to themselves. And as sad as that is their choice. But children don't have a choice, do they? Whatever's happened to this boy won't be because he's made it happen. It'd be either an accident or possibly foul play, who knows, or an animal, but it won't be him who's done it.
With young siblings or young ones around. And so we all feel the pain and the heartache that's associated with a young child going missing. On Tuesday night, senior police spoke to Gus's family and prepared them for the possibility that we may not be able to find him alive. And this is based on scientific advice, professional advice that we get about how long it would be possible for a 4-year-old to survive in that terrain with the weather conditions and the clothing that he was wearing at the time. Whilst we've all been hoping for a miracle, that miracle was not eventuated. And in the last 48 hours, despite the professional advice, it being unlikely that Gus would have survived, we have maintained and in fact increased the effort to try and locate him and bring him back to his family. Unfortunately, at no point has there been any significant evidence that has enabled us to really focus in a direction for our search, give us any clues as to where he may have gone. We're confident that we've done absolutely everything we can to locate Gus within the search area, but despite our best efforts, we have not been able to locate him. And unfortunately, we are now having to scale back this search for Gus. We won't stop. We will continue to.
That's a heartbreaking sort of decision, isn't it, when they come to that conclusion? Scale. Now, that doesn't mean to say they've given up, obviously, but they've had to scale back. This is what always happens, isn't it, in missing persons cases. And all the cases that we've covered, they start off with a big flurry of searching and, they try. I think, you can't underestimate. They will have sent everybody out that they possibly can to search for this little boy. But it gets to a point because, it's just the reality of life. There are other missing children, of course. There are other missing people. The police have other things. It costs a fortune, these search things. And it seems very cold, doesn't it? Say that. That is the reality of life. You know, I don't know if there's any voluntary teams out there, but maybe the police wouldn't want that either. You know, it's just horrible, isn't it? Anyway, they've scaled back the search. That doesn't mean say, as he says, that they're not searching anymore. It's just now I think they feel like they're on a recovery mission rather than a search mission. And as we know, they are harder because, you know, if little Gus has deceased, he'd be very difficult to find. Tiny little boy like that. Look how long it took them to find Travis Decker or other people, adults, big bodies. You know, so to find a little tiny dot like that be difficult, but they'll carry on and, you know, well, you'll hear what he has to say.
Investigate and follow any lines of inquiry that we currently have. And in fact, we've been conducting concurrent activities in relation to ruling out or ruling in any possible option associated with Gus going missing. But everything that we have found to date, every piece of information and evidence that we have explored to date indicates that, as best as we know, Gus has wandered off from this property and we've not been able to locate him. We would like to thank absolutely everybody involved who's been involved in the search, who's provided information, who's provided coverage in relation to Gus going missing. This is clearly now what appears to be a very tragic set of circumstances. We hold out hope that we may be able to find Gus and return him to his family, but clearly that potential is diminishing as days go by. We will now transition into an investigation focus. We will now continue to pursue ongoing lines of inquiry, and we will not rest until we can try and find the answer to why Gus has gone missing, and hopefully, like I said, for the family, return him to them. Thank you.
Will anyone stay on the property up at Yunta?
So, as we scale back our resources, no, there won't necessarily be a presence on the property. There will still be, obviously, liaison with the family as we continue to follow lines of inquiry and to do everything we can to make sure we've covered every single option in terms of what may have occurred at the property.
You know, it's like you feel like this guy, he's a nice guy, isn't he? Comes over as very genuine. It's like they want to bring Gus home one way or another, of course. I think nothing can be worse than not knowing what's happened to your child. Having said that, you know, we're at this point, you know, we seem to get to this point always with these missing persons cases where almost your best case scenario is that somebody has taken them, because that way maybe they would still be alive somewhere and maybe there's hope for them to be found at some point. Because, you know, missing children do turn up sometimes, don't they, when they've been abducted. But it's horrible to think that's your best case scenario, because the alternative is that if he has gone wandering around that property and they found a child's footprint, apparently, and they haven't been able to find him in all these searches, seems like something has befallen him, some accident or something has befallen him. So very sad.
Without sort of suggesting anything, is there anything that authorities would have done differently in this search?
What I'm really proud of in terms of the way that this search has been conducted is the urgency with which we have responded to the reports that Gus was missing. The amount of people and assets that have been allocated to this search has been astronomical. On average, we've had no less than 50 people on the ground at the site searching for hours and hours on end during the day. Our searches on foot have covered approximately 25 kilometres each and every day of this search for 7 days. I think it's in the order of something like 470 odd square metres that we've searched. Has been extensively searched. We've had people on motorbikes, all-terrain vehicles. We've had mounted operations, star group, divers checking water sources. There's been a whole range of assets and people who've been deeply invested in trying to find Gus, as the public would rightly expect of us. And as I said, we're very confident that with all the information available to us at this point, Gus has wandered away from the property and we have been unable to find him.
So what's the best theory that you've got?
Now, it's quite interesting that it's coming out so clear to say that, because not all the missing children cases that we've looked at, the police come out and actually say that, you know, this is our currently our impression that he's gone missing from the property. I do feel that he's convinced that the family are not involved, because the family have not spoke, you know, he hasn't brought them into a press conference, or, you know, they sometimes do that, don't they, when they suspect things from the family, you know, have them do a press conference, like as a sort of way of keeping an eye on them and what have you. He's the opposite. He's trying to protect this family. So I think he really does believe that the family have got nothing to do with it.
The best theory at the moment is exactly that. The evidence that we have available to us is that Gus has wandered away from the property and somewhere onto the farm property, and we have not been able to locate him. I'm aware that there's a lot of speculation on social media and various theories that quite a number of people are espousing on social media. Can I just remind people that it is not helpful, it is not appropriate to speculate in these circumstances. If you were to put yourselves in the shoes of a family who would be clearly distraught about the loss of a small child, someone who's gone missing.
Yeah, I do feel that the fact that it's coming out on the family's corner like this, it feels like he doesn't believe that the family have got anything to do with it, and he knows more than all the rest of us know. So as far as I can see, there's no evidence that the family have done anything. So these people, you know, some sort of YouTubers, they like a bit of clickbait, don't they? They like to have the next thing to talk about, try and make it into a big thing. You know, for me, I'm on here now because I want us all to pray for that this little boy gets found. If it turns out later on it is something to do with the family or whatever, well, you know, I'll be there then. But, you know, not at the moment. This guy is making it clear that it is nothing, as far as he's concerned, it's nothing to do with the family. So just leave them alone. Do you know what I mean? Get a life, you YouTubers. Get a life. Why are you just so desperate to get your next story out there?
It paints a little bit of a different picture and a perspective for people to take into account. And we understand that there are going to be keyboard detectives out there who have these various theories. Everything we know at this point in time is that Gus has wandered away from the property and we have not been able to find him.
That speculation from the public, is that in any way tied up to police resources from a media perspective?
So what happens when we release information to the public, and particularly when you have such an angelic face such as Gus go out into the media, people will ring in. People want to genuinely help. They want to provide information that they think might help police and searchers locate a child. But there are also quite a number of people who are less than helpful and offer their opinions regardless of what the facts say. And in those circumstances, they are not only unhelpful, they are hurtful, and they do tie up police resources because people will ring into either Crime Stoppers or into the police contact numbers. We take every call seriously. And we'll also pass the relevant information onto the investigators who will continue to be looking at.
Yeah, and as much as people might be well-meaning sometimes in the things they ring in, you've always got to, you know, the police have got limited resources. You shouldn't be ringing up with things that, you know, just like, oh, well, you know, Fred down the road said this, or, you know, because they've got limited resources and they need the resources to find the bloody child, not to go out on wild goose chases, you know. Oh, you know, I have people send me messages all the time or emails. Oh, well, I heard on a YouTube channel, or this creator said this. So it's like, it doesn't. What do the police say?
Gus being missing from the property.
Fairly obvious question, but how is the family coping with the development today that the search is going to be scaled back?
You're right, it's an obvious question. Any family that loses a family member is traumatised by the loss of that family member. You know, life's not supposed to work where a parent loses a child. It's supposed to work the other way around. So I think it becomes incredibly traumatic and upsetting for families who lose children, and particularly in circumstances where, you know, you don't necessarily know the answers. So, yes, the family are really upset by this, as you'd expect, and, you know, the public generally are also upset with the fact that, you know, a 4-year-old is out there somewhere by themselves.
How difficult is it also for those police SES officers searching on foot when there simply hasn't been, aside from the footprint, any tracks at all?
As I said before, you know, our search personnel, whether they be volunteers or whether they're police or Defence Force personnel, have families. So, you know, you can imagine that it would be easy for people to be demoralised by the fact that they can't find Gus in this circumstance.
I expect every day the police have gone out thinking, we're going to find Gus today, we're going to find Gus today, and then nothing, and it must be awful. Now, so apparently they found a footprint, haven't they? A child's footprint. That reminds me of the Jack and Lilly Sullivan case, where supposedly they've found child's boot prints. You know, gosh, I just must be awful. Anyway, my heart goes out to the family. Now, I'm going to come off this because I just want to show you. What do I want to show you? Let's see this Daily Mail article. So, police search for missing 4-year-old feared dead in Australian outback shifts to a recovery operation as cops scale back efforts. So it says locals believe, so this was his grandparents' home, by the way, that he disappeared from. His grandparents' home, and locals believe he may have fallen into a disused unmarked mine. After a massive search effort, police have no significant clues regarding Gus's whereabouts, apart from a footprint found almost half a mile away from the house. That's quite a long way. I really do think that if you were in, sometimes people are, let's look at his little face. Sometimes people relax too much, don't they? Because they're in a rural property like that. I'm sure you wouldn't let your child, you know, anybody who lives in a big city, anyone who lives in a city would not let their child out of their sight. But I think people do relax in rural properties. I really think they do. You know, just like it used to be years ago. You know, when I think about when I was a kid, you know, there weren't so many cars around there. In fact, there were very few cars. You know, we were always allowed out to play. You know, in rural areas, children are allowed out to play. Even now, but perhaps less now because we're more aware now of the dangers that can happen. But I was always roaming around here and there. You know, I remember my dad had to come and find me and my friend once. We were stuck in a field surrounded by cows. You know, we'd gone into this field and these cows were terrifying us and we couldn't get out of the field. And I mean, I don't know how long we were there for, but one thing I do know is I was really young. I don't know if I was 4, but I certainly wasn't any older than 8. With my friend, and then my dad. I remember my dad coming home. You know, and we loads of times I remember my dad coming looking for us. We were always allowed to play out. There'd always be someone coming round to your door and asking you to play out. So imagine if you lived on a rural property. This is the difference. You know, yeah, if you're in an inner city or whatever, you're not going to let your 4-year-old out to play, but you're in a rural property. It's like your garden. That really is, I suppose you'd think of it like, you know, you wouldn't be worried about someone coming and snatching them. We're more, you know, this is, I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying this is how people look on things, isn't it? Literally. They live on rural properties and they don't think anything can happen to their children. That's what I think. So, you know, hi, Angel. You know, I think you relax too much. That's what I'm trying to say is you think it's safe because of where you are, but it is never safe. It is never safe because even if it's not foul play you have to worry about, then you have to worry about animals, you have to worry about other people, you have to worry about, so even on a rural property, don't you? So, but I do think that if you're living on a rural property, you would relax more. I really do think that. And I can see that people would do that. Oh, he's got a little t-shirt. So he was wearing a Minions t-shirt apparently when he went missing. So look, this is the area that they've been searching. I think they're going to find him. But unfortunately, I do think maybe he might be deceased, bless him. I don't feel like there's any foul play, but do you know what? So I'm only saying that because of the way the police spoke about it. So, you know, I think my heart goes out to this family. So while those involved in the search have been hoping for a miracle, over the past 48 hours, the search has shifted to a recovery operation. The investigation will now be managed by the Missing Persons Investigation Section. This is where all long-term cases such as this are managed and investigated. And is standard practice. We will now continue to pursue ongoing lines of inquiry, and we will not rest until we can try and find the answer to why Gus has gone missing and hopefully for the family return him to them. Mark Cyrus, the police superintendent, said it was unusual for Gus to wander as he normally stays within the confines of the area, but who knows what goes through a 4-year-old's mind. We understand he's a pretty quiet sort of lad, but he's a country lad and he's pretty adventurous as well. Moving out of the area is a little bit unusual. One local said Gus may have fallen into a mine. He said, I would be more worried about the unmarked wells and mines he may have fallen into. That's the talk. The state is dotted with mines and wells from more than a century ago. They were used as water sources for livestock and those hunting gold, with many being invisible to the naked eye. So this is where's the footprint? So this is a picture of a footprint that police may think may have been left by Gus. Is it this here? Can anyone see that footprint? Can any of you make out that footprint there? I don't know if I can make out a footprint there, but hang on. Yeah, where's the footprint? They normally put a circle. Oh, is that it? There. Little footprint there. Yeah, you can see that. Yeah. There is a little footprint. I think that's it. Anyway, I don't know, but. So family friend Bill Harbison issued a statement on the family's behalf earlier in the week. He said, "This has come as a shock to our family and friends, and we're struggling to comprehend what has happened. Gus's absence is felt in all of us, and we miss him more than words can express. Our hearts are aching, and we are holding on to hope that he will be found and returned to us safely. And at this time, we kindly ask for privacy as we focus all our energy on supporting the search and working closely with the police." So, gosh. Oh, well, I hope they do find him one way or another because, oh, bless him. Hope they do find him. Right, let's see. I got something else that I wanted to. Let's have a look at this.
Good evening. The mammoth search for a little boy lost on a rural property in the state's mid-north has wrapped up with no trace of him. Authorities threw everything they had at finding 4-year-old Gus. But after a week-long effort today, they left the homestead. But with a vow, they won't stop searching.
Okay, I'm going to try and see if I can download that photo. You said next to that you're looking at Annie. Let's download the photo. Oh, it's a... I don't know if I'll be able to show that. Let's see. It's... oh, this here. Let's try that. Oh, so it's not this little thing here. It's this bigger footprint. Yeah, well, I just don't know. Personally, I don't think, well, it's a footprint. It's this. I was looking at this. But the thing is, because there's no scale to it either. You know, they're not showing us the scale of the size of it, so it's not a very clear picture, is it? But, yeah. Hi, Julie. You're welcome. Yeah. Okay, let's go back to that. The article. The
trail of cars leaving and one final flight. A full-scale 7-day search comes to a heartbreaking close.
We've all been hoping for a miracle. That miracle was not eventuated.
That miracle would have been finding 4-year-old Gus alive, the little boy last seen playing on a mound of dirt on Saturday afternoon, today described as adventurous and shy, but also as a good walker who'd never strayed too far.
When a family member came out later in the evening, about half an hour later, to call him back inside, they couldn't find him.
By early Sunday morning, the homestead near Yunta was a search zone and everything was thrown at it.
Oh my God, there's water as well. Look, there's a diver. So, God, not only all that terrain, you've got the water.
Near Yunta was a search zone and everything was thrown at it. The SES...
The evening, about half an hour later, to call him back inside. They couldn't find him.
By early Sunday morning, the homestead near Yunta was a search zone and everything was thrown at it. The SES, Star Group officers, water police, trackers and even the Defence Force.
And in the last 48 hours, despite the professional advice, it being unlikely that Gus would have survived, we have maintained and in fact increased the effort to try and locate him and bring him back to his family.
but only this footprint was found.
Oh, yeah.
The evidence that we have available to us is that Gus has wandered away from the property and somewhere onto the farm property, and we have not been able to locate him.
And today we learned the full scale of the efforts, more than 50 people on the ground each day for hours over the week, covering 470 square kilometres.
The search for Gus has probably been one of the largest, most intensive searches for a missing person conducted in South Australia in recent times.
A family now left without their beloved 4-year-old boy and without any answers.
Any family that loses a family member is traumatised by the loss of that family member. Life's not supposed to work where a parent loses a child. It's supposed to work the other way around.
Despite the search on the ground coming to a halt, SA Police has assured everyone involved they won't give up. They're now determined to investigate every line of inquiry to find out why Gus went missing, and with the hopes of returning the little boy to his family. Brenton.
Heartbreaking development. Josie, thank you.
Okay. Ooh.
Good evening. Police have returned to the remote.
So that's where we are, basically. So they've scaled back the search but not stopped searching. But now they feel that it's a recovery mission rather than, that they're going to find him alive. Now, I just want to show this. So this is a bit of a map there. I think you can see that now. Of Yunta, how close it is as far as Adelaide is concerned, and Melbourne, that we're probably a little bit more familiar with. But this is a very, very rural area where this boy's disappeared from. But the other thing I want to read to you is this. This is what the police officer said. There's no way they've harmed. Was it him who said this? Oh, no, this is one of the relatives or friends. There is no way they've harmed this child. I think it's unfortunate people are speculating because things like this pain the family. But I do understand that when there are so many unanswered questions, people will naturally try to fill in the gaps, even if their theories are implausible and impractical. Miss Tyver said she knew the Lamont family well and described them as kind, gentle, reliable, trustworthy and truthful. They embody everything about humans that can be good. Well, we know that, we never really know what people are really like, do we? But anyway, police began searching the 60,000 HA property shortly after Gus disappeared at around 5 p.m. on September the 27th. He was wearing a grey broad-brimmed hat, a blue long-sleeve shirt with a Minions picture from the movie Despicable Me on the front, light grey pants and boots. So they haven't found any of that. So surely if maybe he was attacked by animals, wouldn't his hat have been found? Or, I don't know, surely his hat would have fallen off, or I don't know. Anyway, so on Thursday, I don't know what happened to Gus. That's what we're here for. We're going to pray for him in a minute. Mark Cyrus admitted the odds of survival were fading fast without water or shelter, food, water or shelter. A 4-year-old does not disappear into thin air. He has to be somewhere. Hopefully he's hanging in there alive, but we're now in recovery phase. He's been gone over 100 hours and 6 days. That's a long time to be out in the elements. However, we always believe Gus is a tough little country lad. He may be curled up under a bush somewhere, and we're determined to find him. Police threw everything at the search for Gus, including specialist divers to check water tanks and dams, infrared cameras, dogs, ATVs and drones. But all that effort came to an end on Friday when searchers packed up their gear and left the property. Now, the only sign that remains of the tragedy is a few forgotten knots of police tapes tied on the station's gates. We've all been hoping for a miracle, but that miracle has not eventuated. At this point, no trace of Gus has been located, no tangible pieces of evidence such as footprints. Well, I thought they had found a footprint. They did find a footprint. A hat or clothing have been located to identify any direction of travel to assist searchers. Despite our best efforts, we've not been able to locate him, and unfortunately, we're now having to scale back this search. Police do not think a third party took Gus due to the remote nature of the homestead, which sits more than 25 kilometres from the highway. So this is the property. Oh my God. Oh God. Miss Tyver hopes that Gus has got into a little creek down under a bush and is just hidden there. It's always a possibility. But yeah, you can see how remote that is, my God. I thought the bloody place where Jack and Lily went missing from was remote. But this is really remote, even more remote, isn't it? Oh my God. No, it's very, very remote. So you could see that they might, though, you know, Old Street, you know, I couldn't relax. No, my 4-year-old was out there because I'd be worrying not so much about someone's, you know, because it's a remote area, but I would be worrying about them having an accident or whatever. But I suppose, you know, I can't put myself in the head of people who live in these sort of places because we all have a different life view, don't we? You know, when my son was young, letting him play outside my house, I'd be more worried about cars. You'd be worried about cars rather than anyone, you know, taking him away. And I live in a quiet little village, but I wouldn't let him play outside unsupervised completely, not at 4. I was trying to think, but you know, there's times when maybe I'd be sat out there talking to friends or whatever, and he'd be playing with his friends in the park maybe or whatever, but not at 4 really. But you know, he did have a little friend who was walking to school on his own from the age of 3, you know. So you know, people have different ideas, don't they, of what's safe and what isn't. I think because I come from Manchester, you know, from a city, I'm probably more cynical. But if you'd always only lived somewhere like that, that'd be the way you would think. So this is the family friend, Bill Harbison, and he says that Gus's family are holding on to hope he will be found and returned safely. He read a statement on behalf of Gus's family. This has come to a shock to our family and friends. We're struggling to comprehend what's happened. Gus's absence is felt in all of us and we miss him more than words can express. Our hearts are aching. We're holding on to hope he will be found and returned to us safely. At this time, we kindly ask for privacy as we focus our energy on supporting the search and working with the police. Okay, so we're going to say, well, I'm going to say a little prayer now. I hope you'll join me in the prayer. It's not only for Gus, it's for any missing child. Just awful when children go missing because, as I say, they can't look after themselves. You're not going to think that they've gone off to start new life somewhere, or, you know, nothing they'll have done is from their volition. Maybe initially, I mean, sometimes children think it's funny, you know, to sort of disappear, you know, to run off and hide, don't they? Sometimes children think that, don't they? You know, I've been in department stores with my son when he was little and he thought it was funny to go down the escalator at the age of 6 or whatever. You have to go running down the escalator after them, or they think it's funny to start going up the escalator, the down escalator. You know, it's very scary. But I think you know, if you lived in a rural place like that, you probably would think it was safe for your child to play outside. This is something really they should always be contained. But you know, this is the hindsight as well. I mean, there'd be people out there in rural Australia and America who let their children out to play and nothing ever happens to them. Thing is, once something happens to them, then of course it brings all this home to roost. But it's, you know, day in, day out, there'll be millions of children all over the world playing safely in rural properties. So, you know, this is maybe just a terrible freak thing that's happened. Okay, now I'm going to say this prayer. Now, it is a Christian prayer. Now, I know not all my followers will be Christians. I have followers of all different religions. You have to change maybe, but it doesn't mean say you can't pray, does it? I'm a Christian, so I'm going to say a Christian prayer. It's only a short one, don't worry. I'm not going to sort of, you know, I'm not trying to make anybody religious. Some people don't believe in any religion. I don't actually believe in religion, but I do believe in God. So I'm saying this prayer to God, to Christ. I believe in God, I believe in Christ, but I respect everybody's beliefs. Everyone can pray for this boy. You can pray to whoever your God is. You can pray to the universe. You can just send out positive thoughts. It doesn't have to be a religious thing. I'm just going to read out how I want to pray for it. I just hope you'll accompany me in that. And it's so short, it's literally just a few lines. So don't worry. I'm not going to sort of shove religion down people's throats. I don't do that. You know, I've got my beliefs. As long as people don't try and shove their beliefs down my throat, I won't be trying to shove my beliefs down anybody else's. But I think you can pray to whoever you want to. The thing is that not only this child, but all missing children, Jack and Lily, Sebastian, Rogers, any case that we've been following where there's a chance, or even if there's no chance of them still being alive, just that they're brought home one way or another and their family can deal with them, you know, can give them a dignified farewell. If it's not going to be that they're found, you know, safely, their family deserve answers. The family of all missing children deserve answers. And anyway, I'm going to pray for that. That's all I can do. I'm not over there. I can't help in the search. Even if I was there, I couldn't help in the search. You know, it's like, it's not, you know, I couldn't do. But the one thing that I can do is send out positivity to the family, prayers to the family, even just our love, our hopes of that little boy. Anyway, I'm waffling, aren't I? I'm waffling. So I'm going to read it out, this prayer. And as I say, it's just a few lines. So, Heavenly Father, we ask for your protection and guidance for this missing child and their family. Wrap them in your loving presence, shield them from all harm, and bring them safely back to their loved ones. Comfort the hearts of the family. Grant them peace and strength during this agonizing time. Guide the search efforts and illuminate the path leading to the child's swift and safe return. In your holy name we pray. Amen. And, you know, I'll be thinking about this boy. And not only, as I say, this boy, we've got the Jack and Lily case in particular as well that we've been looking at. You know, and then there's a case like the Emmanuel Harrow. That little baby has been declared deceased, but where is his body? You know, you don't feel like where is he being searched for? That little boy deserves to be put to rest in a dignified way. So anyone, any case that we're following, and even cases that we're not following, please, God, just let some resolution come to this family. Let this little boy be found, hopefully alive and well, but if not, at least be, you know, recovered, be laid to rest with dignity. this poor little boy Gus, and let's have a look at a photo of him. Yeah. You know, you feel so hopeless in these sort of, you know, there's a lot of situations I feel hopeless, to be honest. I feel hopeless sometimes, you know, when you're worrying about your family members and you feel like there's nothing you can do, but you're worrying about them. We always feel hopeless at times, that we just cannot control things that are going on in the world. Like, you know, this. But the thing that we can do is we can pray. We can send out positivity. Might not seem like much, but it is a big thing, really. It's better than negativity anyway. Bless. Okay, I'm off. I've got to go get some lunch. Any news about Gus, I will let you know, of course. And just keep praying for him and his family. Thank you for watching. I'll see you really soon in the next video. And until then, may your God go with you. Bye. Oh, I'm not going to put on the happy out, you know, because it just doesn't seem suitable. I just put on my normal video for this. Bye.